Welcome everybody to the Magic Beans podcast. I'm your host and my name is Shorty and we are back again for episode number 24. I'm joined tonight by just a couple of beans and we have plenty to talk to you about tonight, mostly about the new set Ikoria, so we're going to get right into that pretty soon. But along here with me to give you all the really useful information with zero tangents, I have Chewy. How you going, Chew?
Is it Ikoria or Ikoria?
I have absolutely no idea.
Or was that my first tangent?
We also have Cracker. How you going, Cracker?
Great, man. I'm great. Ready to go.
You're going to help to keep us on track tonight and keep Chewy under control?
Try my best.
All right, so as I mentioned, we have a lot to talk about tonight. This new set's coming up very quickly, but before we get into that, we thought we'd give you a bit of a rundown on a few things we've been up to lately. So, Chewy, you and I, we played some Magic last week for actual real prizes. You want to give us a bit of a rundown of that?
Yeah, it was my first F&M for like a couple of years. Like getting to F&M's been difficult, having, family and being, tired after working a week on a Friday night. So, say again, sorry?
Being old.
Old? Yeah, sorry, I had to turn up my hearing aid to hear that. Yeah, but with the circumstances that we find ourselves in the current environment, the Magic community's done more and more work to bring tournaments online. It's kind of exploded. Like, we've been doing our leagues and the things that Channel Fireball are doing with the Grand Prix, but one of the really exciting things, the things that I think is really cool, is the local game stores have been using Discord to host F&M, and our local, our regular store, I guess. I think we've both
local.
got Cracker's local, yeah. He kind of lives in between us, so yeah, it makes sense. Ran F&M, and you and I joined. I think there was 10 players all up, so smallish numbers, but it was their first.
That's not bad for an F&M, I reckon.
Well, I don't know what numbers they get to a normal F&M, so yeah, 10's good, and you and I battled it out. 4 rounds we played, and yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed chatting with my opponents. Had some really sweet games. I went 3-1. I lost to the Croxer deck that 4-0'd the event, but
I
had
also
some really
lost to that deck.
Yeah. Well, it seems really good. Ran into it on ladder a few times, and it's one of those decks that's either it is unbeatable or it does nothing. I think it'd be a really frustrating deck to play. I don't know. I haven't dipped my toe in that thing yet, but
I don't know, man. I saw him cast Croxer against you 3 times in one turn, so I don't think that was very frustrating.
Yeah, that was one of the games where it kind of can't lose. But and when they claimed the firstborn on your Uru, that's also a beating. So, but yeah, it was a really, really fun event. So shout out to Next Level Games at Ringwood. Andy, as usual, did a really good job. Yeah, got a promo pack for going 3-1, and had a board game on hold there anyway, so they were open for retail for sort of an hour a day. So my wife went in, grabbed a copy of Azul and the booster, and got a Shadow Spear and a Nissa. So nice. I might send that to you, Shorty, because Nissa was such a fun experience for you in our last game.
The daggers, the spears being thrown.
For anybody wanting to know what I'm talking about, jump onto our YouTube channel. Both mine and Shorty's match. I think Shorty just uploaded. Worth watching, and the last turn was pretty sweet.
Yeah, you can find Chewy's perspective of the F&M on our Twitch channel. You can go back and check our videos on there, and he'll have his perspective, which he streamed for the night, which was good. I know a few people jumped in and out, and I jumped in and out there on the night as well. But I recorded my matches and then, uploaded them to YouTube about a week later after I got my internet sorted. And, round 4 was, me against Chewy. Yeah, it ended in a spectacular fashion. We'll leave it at that. So you have to go and watch the video.
Go and watch it.
See what happened.
And if you go back and watch it on Twitch, give us a follow.
Yes, please do. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So I think a lot of stores are now currently running their F&Ms, and I know we'd previously talked about running our own F&M style events, but we sort of had a bit of a chat about it as a podcast and decided we'd prefer to support the LGSs that are struggling at the moment. So if your local game store is running these sorts of events, I definitely recommend helping them out and showing a little bit of support and getting involved in those events. They're good fun. They're pretty quick and easy, and you're playing them on Arena from the comfort of your own home in your pajamas with a cup of tea, as I certainly was. And it's just a way to show a little bit of support, stay involved in your community, and play a bit of Magic that actually means something for a change. So look up your local game store, get in contact with them, and see if they're running them, and get on board with that. So
I object to that because we've been playing Magic that means something as well.
We have. Good job there with the segue, Cracker.
Just stop pointing them out, man.
No, you got to point them out every time. None of this smooth transition stuff.
I tried.
Well done.
So we've had our league. We've mentioned it on the last few episodes that we've been running a league through Discord on our own Discord, which we would love you all to come and join. And we finished up the first league that we ran. So we basically ended up being our March league. We had the finals get played earlier this week, a few different matches, and we ended up with our results. So congratulations to Hemsey, who ended up taking it all down, topping out J Mudd in second in the finals. And J Mudd ran the 5-colour Niv Mizzet deck that we've mentioned a few times on this podcast, and I think he did really well through the whole league and then through into the finals, and got a little bit unlucky in the actual final game. So bit of bad luck for him. But first place Hemsey, J Mudd in second, Child Rebel Walker in third, and Benny R in fourth. I've sent out most of those prizes to those guys. Did have Hemsey and Child Rebel Walker tell me just hang on to the boosters because they think that they're going to be getting some more in the next league. So
that's
I like the confidence there. But we'll see what happens.
Just stack them up, man.
I'll end up sending out
are
about
we dropping
4 boxes.
from this league like we did the last one?
No, we're not. Especially not with where I'm currently sitting in the league.
Results determining how long we stay in contention.
Yep. So we ended up. So that capped off our first league. I think we were all pretty happy with how that all ran. I know you guys had a lot of fun interacting with our fans, if we want to call
listeners,
them that.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The long-suffering individuals that put up with our nonsense.
Yeah.
Or the guys who just think that they can come and, spike a bunch of boosters off a bunch of scrubs, maybe.
They did.
Yeah, probably. They did do that. Yeah. They don't actually listen. But,
but shout out
to... It was a lot of fun.
Shout out to the Wooden Spooner cue ball as well, who... started playing Magic at Christmas time? And
may have played a little bit in the past, but started actually playing around then. Yeah,
and took the wooden spoon, and I know we discussed it in the last cast, and Shorty rummaged around in the back room and found an old Commander Precon, I believe. So send that out to cue ball, which is awesome. So well done.
Yep.
I'd like to say I managed to achieve my desired 50% win rate. After going on quite the tear at the start, wheels came off pretty hard.
I don't even know what my final one was. I didn't finish all of the matches.
I finished 6 and 6. I didn't get to play the last round.
You finished with 7 wins, I think, Chewy.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think both you and I would have made top 4, or would have been pretty close to, but we decided for the first league we would graciously bow out and let some other people have the prizes, but not so for this second league. So we kicked off pretty much straight away into our April league. So I think we're sort of planning that we will continue to run these monthly. We'll start them at roughly the start of the month, run them for 4 weeks, and then have the finals at the end of the month. And April league's already underway. We've had a bunch of matches played. As previously mentioned, I'm currently sitting on top of the ladder. I've managed to start off with a very good 4-1 record, which is very unlike me.
Where'd that loss come from?
It came from Aragoth. I can't remember what.
It came from me.
Hey? Oh, it came from you?
Yes.
Oh, no. I think you're mistaken.
That beautiful game where I kept 4 Bone Crusher Giants against you.
Oh, yes, that was that game.
I need to hear about this.
Yeah, so I've been playing a bit of Mono Red, just sort of gone back to my old favourite.
So boring.
Yeah, it works well though. But I've been crushing people with that, and yeah, my match against Cracker, I think I won game 1, and game 2 It was like I was beating down, and I was on.
You put me to 2.
Yeah, you're on 2, and you were dead next turn, and you untapped and had double shock, double bone crusher or something.
I had a bone crusher on the battlefield and didn't block. Went to 2, and then went shock, stomp, attack you.
Yeah.
From 10, so that was fun.
Yeah.
In case you can't tell, that's a bunch of red cards I just listed off.
Which means
I am in fact not
boring.
Not play. Well, no, because there were a bunch of blue cards in my deck as well.
Yeah, it was a little bit of spice actually.
Is it Flash?
Yeah, is it Flash? It's my own brew actually.
You're supposed to say yes, it is. But
yes. I'm sorry. I'm not as good with the dad jokes and the puns and all that kind of stuff. Pretty good with the punts, but yeah. Decided to mix it up, and I'd been kind of during the last little while, like when you get sick of grinding ladder, I was just jamming some games to get gold on Arena because that's what you do. And I kind of threw together an Is It Flash list because I couldn't get mono blue to work, and I just there's a bunch of cool red cards. So I kind of grabbed possibly some suboptimal things to try them out. So there's like the Mischievous Chimera, which is a red and a blue for a 2/2 flying, and whenever you cast a spell on your opponent's turn, it scry one and deal one. So, try some things out.
Just random stuff.
Random stuff, yeah. Something completely different. And like 4 Brazen Borrow and some Gadwicks and, stuff like that as well. So some actual good cards. But something completely different to the green white auras that I was trying last time. So got to mix it up.
So
it was good fun.
With our league this month, we've actually had to split it up into 2 brackets. So we've got a bracket A and bracket B, and I tell you what, it feels like the group stage of the World Cup when Australia draws like Italy and Brazil and Spain. Bracket B, and I feel like I'm Australia. I tell you what,
you have the whole top 4 from the previous league all in the bracket with you.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Shorty made the brackets, but no one knows how he reached those conclusions.
He did say they were random.
I hit
random in quotes
on the challenge system, and then I put him in I said put him in brackets, and that's what it came out with.
And magically, you're 4-1.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not quite as good when you win the boosters that you paid for. So yeah, it doesn't have quite the same appeal. I'll take some wins.
Yeah. No, doing really well. So will this league cut over into Ikoria being?
Yeah, it will. Yep. So okay. So we'll get into the Ikoria stuff in a second, but just to sort of wrap up on the league. So this league will run till the end of April, and we are planning on, for the finals, actually doing a proper event where we commentate over the final games being played. So keep an eye out for that. But if you're just hearing about this league for the first time, you can get in for the next one. So we will run one again for May. So join our Discord and jump in there for the May league. So it's a lot of fun, and you get to have a chat to people from all around the world. We do have one American in the league at the moment, so
we do
good fun.
Did you mention that you were both the tops of the leagues where the brackets were going to play out for the finals?
We didn't know. So we have two brackets. The way it's structured at the moment, 2 brackets. Everyone will play each other in a round robin style, and then the top 2 from each bracket will go into the finals. So I think I'm pretty close to just being locked for the finals already.
Sick brags.
Seems likely.
Yeah. I mean, there could be something weird happen. I mean, if Cracker wins out, then
I'm 2-0. 2-0.
And then, someone else gets another 4-1. Although the only person that has beaten me so far being you means I may be pretty good on the tiebreakers. So we'll see how we go. But as Chewy mentioned, there is the new set Ikoria coming out, and that will be coming out pretty soon on Arena. So it is going to make a big change for this league. And I think a few of the guys have been sort of hanging off of playing their matches at the moment, just sort of waiting to see what happens so they can spend a few wild cards and bust out some new decks to try and take over the league. So Ikoria, we mentioned on the previous cast that we weren't really sure what was going to happen. We'd sort of heard a few rumours about when it would be released and would it be delayed and things like that. And yeah, turns out it has been. So the pre-release was actually meant to be next weekend. So we're recording this on Thursday, the 9th of April, and next Friday, the 17th of April, was meant to be the pre-release, worldwide pre-release, and I'm sure all of us would have been planning on going somewhere to go and play in that, but obviously with the current world situation, that's not really possible. So Wizards have actually delayed the paper releases on this set, which is something that's never happened before, as far as I know, and it's probably not something that they've taken lightly, but they're trying to keep everyone involved in the game and obviously allow people to get out there and play the game. So it's going to be a little bit weird this time. So there are going to be there are going to be paper cards released next weekend. That's going to happen in Japan, Korea, China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. I believe they're areas where the coronavirus is starting to slow down and they may be relaxing some of their restrictions and things, so people may actually be able to get out to play. But for everybody else in the rest of the world, so all of America and Europe and us here in Australia and New Zealand, we're not going to get it for a whole nother month. So May 15th will be the release, is the current scheduled pre-release. And even if restrictions haven't been lifted by then here in Australia, I'm pretty sure they will still go ahead and release it. I don't think they can push it out any further than that. It just may mean that, yeah, we don't actually get to participate in a pre-release, which is a little bit of a shame. I know.
Sad.
Yeah, we've had plenty of fun times at pre-releases, and it'd be a real shame to have to miss out on one, not miss out on one just because we can't make it.
And the arena pre-releases just aren't quite the same.
No.
No, the cracking the packs for the first time with everyone in the room is just like, it's some of the most fun because you're like, oh, what did you open? Oh, that's sick. You just don't get that.
Yeah, it's it's the whole vibe of the night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like getting your promo and, especially when you get, like, what did you get last time, Shorty? You got the Dream Trawler at the last pre-release. And yeah, it was, that's awesome. Like such a bomb.
I got the Angel that you can tap a white and 4 creatures and it's a 7/7 flying, all your other flyers gain indestructible. Oh, and that was the previous one. The one before that was the Archon. That whenever you cast an enchantment, you get a 2/2.
Yeah, I had a Dream Trawler.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I do recall you getting
Kiora Best to See God. That was fun.
Kiora wins me the limited games. I had one of those in my cube, and oh man, does that card do work?
Yeah. It's
so
very, very good.
As Chewy mentioned, there will still be an arena release, which will still be going ahead on the same date. So, it works out. It's the 16th, I think. Well, I assume it's the Friday for us, the 17th of April. It will still be released on Arena, so you can still play in pre-release events on there, but they're not quite as much fun. You do still do the same thing. You get your 6 boosters and you crack them and build your sealed pool and play that sort of thing. So that is still happening in a week's time, and that does mean that the cards will be legal for Standard basically as of that release time. So it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of shake-up.
So what's the best way then, if you want to, if you're looking through the spoiler and you're seeing some sweet cards and you've got these deck ideas, if we're limited to playing on Arena, what's the best way to get those cards?
So there's a couple of bundles that you can buy where you're basically pre-ordering booster packs, and I think, Chewy, that's how you normally do it when new sets are coming out.
Yeah, it's like the $50 for... Yeah.
Yep. So it's like $50 US for 50 packs and a promo and card style and things like that. So it kind of depends where you're at in the way that you interact with the economy. So for me, the way I've sort of interacted in the past, and I think I mentioned this when we did our Arena episode, is I'll buy the $100 thing of gems, where you get 20,000 gems, and then that will last me for multiple sets, because I will use some of those gems to buy some boosters, some packs when they come out. I think it's like 9,000 gems for 100 boosters or something like that. So I'll do that, and then between when that set releases and the next set, I've done a bunch of drafts and I've earned more gems and whatever. So I can actually sort of string that $100 out for 3 or 4 sets quite often. So that's just the way I've been interacting with it, and because I'm sort of already in that system where I've got some gems already banked up, that's what I'm going to stick with. Whereas buying the bundles the way that Chewy tends to do it, you're buying them directly. So you're just paying your cash for the packs. So if you don't have a big sort of backlog of gems, then that's a pretty good way of doing it. You can just, set aside, it's 50 US, which is, again, like 250 Australian or something at the moment.
It's like $80 or something.
Yeah. It's 50 US plus like GST and then
it's their tax,
exchange rate and
whatever else it is. Yeah, your left kidney, your firstborn. Yeah. But what I have found myself doing, and I'll definitely do, is slow rolling the opening of those packs. So it's really easy on Arena just to go open them all and then see what you get.
you can hit open 10 at a time.
Yeah,
which that's how I do it.
Yeah, and that's fine. But given when the paper release has been delayed and we're not going to get our hands on actual boosters to open, if you're looking for that same sort of feel, this is kind of the closest you're going to get, right?
Yeah.
Chewy loves the sweat. Like, if he's got a top deck that he needs to make, he'll pull that card so slow. Like, he doesn't just rip it and flip it, man. He'll
it's
roll
all about
it.
the drama.
Absolutely. I'm just saying, he loves the sweat. So that's why
it's good. You've got to.
It's fun.
And I can't breathe into my hand anymore, Shorty, because that's like that's I need a different habit now.
Yeah.
I need to breathe into my elbow. So it's.
I can't wait to see that on Twitch.
Cracker, you're a free-to-play player on Arena still, I believe.
Yeah.
So what's your tactic for trying to get your hands on Ikoria cards, however we're going to say it, when they release? Are you just waiting?
I've decided to say it differently every time I say it.
Nice.
Yeah, how do you treat that?
Ikoria.
You just got to have the right emphasis on the correct syllable.
Yes.
Exactly. Being in the position where you don't pay any cash, you're at a disadvantage. There's no way of putting it any other way, right? I have wildcards that I have, banked just from playing and winning and, just doing drafts and that kind of stuff. There are things that you just get. So I've got a bunch of those and I tried to save a few up, but then I was building this deck and I spent a few wildcards for the league. So, may have been a mistake, but anyway. I usually wait till the draft becomes available for gold. So I have gems now, more than I've kind of had before, because, won a couple of drafts and some cube and stuff. So I'll have a look at what I can buy for the gems, packs-wise, which is usually a better way to do it. And then just draft will be the main goal. And then, just pick and choose. You kind of, very early on, I saw some Streamer Showdown stuff when they were, when Arena was out, and I got all excited about like a Judith deck because I thought it looked sweet and I thought it was going to be really good.
I made this exact same mistake.
It was rubbish. So from day one, I went on Arena and I bought like Bedevils and Blood Crypts and Judiths and I threw away all these wild cards and then the deck was just no good.
Yep.
And you couldn't buy a win with it and I was like, oh. So like I had, I had no resources left and it was pretty frustrating. So now I tend to play it a little slower. So it's always good to, find the deck that you want and maybe like this Flash deck I've got. There's some sweet new Flash stuff that's coming out that I'm definitely just going to like, they're uncommons. So I'll just grab some of those and put them in. So there's a few things like that you can kind of upgrade. But as from building from scratch, takes a while. But that's okay.
Yeah, so you kind of pick a style of deck or some colours that you like playing and then build on that, I guess, over time and find the new version of that deck. So you're sort of only having to spend a few wild cards along the way or just sit back and wait and see what takes your fancy before you sort of commit to anything.
Yeah, and it's good to have something that's, it's kind of boring, but like Mono Red, I joke about it, it will always be there. For the last number of years, it's been, tier 1 to 1.5, maybe tier 2 at different points. But if you want to grind and just, get wins, get, card rewards and get
your matches done quickly.
Yeah. You just, it is an effective way to, work the system without, having to spend, 12 rare wild cards on, shocklands and stuff like that. You can just go, well, I've got 3 new cards in this set that make Mono Red a little better. Cool. Let's just upgrade what I've got and go from there. And then when you bank what you're looking for, you can start doing the flashier stuff.
Yep. Cool. All right, a little bit of advice for you there for the set release. So, yeah, don't forget next weekend. I don't think they've announced it yet, but I'm assuming they'll do some sort of event where at some point you can get in and play with the new cards. So that's another way to see what sort of decks you're going to like. But, yeah, I'm sort of in a similar boat. I'll just sit back and see what the actual pro-level players are playing and what they think's good before I start committing my wild cards to actual cards because, yeah, they are quite hard to come by. So... yeah,
I'll let you know when I figure it out then, mate. Yeah.
Yes. All right.
So there's some pretty looking cards in this set. Some of the art's interesting.
Yeah.
And there's some variations on art. I think Wizards, I missed the announcement, but Wizards have clearly got a new department, the meme card department. And I don't know how I feel about this. But yeah, there's a cycle or a number of cycles of cards that kind of throw back to old movies or different sci-fi stuff. And yeah, I don't know whether they're trying to ride the coattails of the Throne of Eldraine fairy tales set by appealing to a different genre, or whether they're just trying to have a bit of fun with it, or what. I'm not sure, but I don't know how I feel about it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. But yeah, Godzilla, and Mothra, and Baby Godzilla. Sharknado cards. Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, I don't think we've really spoken about Ikoria all that much, but the full name of the set is Lair of Behemoths. So the whole thing of this set is it's set on a world, Ikoria, and there's massive monsters everywhere, and it's basically humans fighting against the massive monsters, and somehow Wizards has come up with some sort of partnership with the owners of all the Godzilla IP, and have released a bunch of cards with like Chewy said, Godzilla and Mothra and Space Godzilla and all sorts of weird things like that. So
the kaiju cycle, right? They've called them.
Yeah,
and so they're actually just alternate cards to normal legendaries from the set. So there'll be like the Godzilla version, and then there'll be like underneath where it says Godzilla, it will actually have the name of the real, in air quotes, card that is functionally the same. So text is like, just a different name and different art, but the rest of it, as far as like rules and stats and all that sort of stuff, is identical to another card in the set.
Yeah,
so
it's just like an alternate art printing of the card.
Yeah, it is, but with an alternate name as well, which is new.
Yeah, so does that make it Secret Lair of Behemoths?
Anyway, no? So they're continuing on with the same thing that they've done from the last few sets with their multiple different types of printing. So we have the extended art that we've sort of seen over the last few sets, and then they have the showcase series. So in Throne of Eldraine, we had the storybook style cards, and then in Theros we have the constellation style, and in this set we have the comic book art style, which some of them just look amazing. I don't know how much of it you guys have seen, but yeah, some of the alternate arts just look so cool.
Yeah, they're very, very cool.
Yeah.
They've kind of done them on like old school movie posters. So like 50s style Godzilla posters and stuff is where they drew a lot of their inspiration from.
Yep.
So they're kind of like these big, bold kind of, really sweet. Check them out.
Yep. So, yeah, and then there's 19 cards that, as Cracker said, they're called the Godzilla Monster Series, and they're basically just an alternate version of a card from the set. So there'll be a card called, I don't know, Big Bug. I'm very creative, obviously. So the actual original version of the card is called Big Bug, but then there is a Godzilla version of that card that functions exactly the same, is the same card effectively, just with different art. So there's 19 of them, and they range from a whole bunch of different things. And some of them look cool, some of them are weird. I'm not a huge fan of them, but I'm sure some people are. So just another thing for collectors to buy, and another thing for Chris to have to get. So it's good for him, I suppose. Maybe.
It's good for Wizards. Yeah.
It's got to be tiring at some point, right?
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be released, assuming that they're the same as the last couple of sets where you can get them in regular boosters. but they will also come in the special collector's boosters, which are the super expensive ones that I'm never going to buy. So if you're into that, then buy those.
Cool. What can we expect in the set?
Yeah, let's go through the actual mechanics of the set. Cracker, you got that open there in front of you? You can take us through. I think the very first mechanic is one that you're quite familiar with.
It is very near and dear to my heart. And can I just say, living end, tier 1 again, boys. Here we go.
Hang on, was it ever tier 1? I don't think you could say tier 1 again.
I mean, tier 1 in my heart. Yeah. Tier 1 in my heart.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, I actually changed today my Discord profile picture to be living end.
I did see that, yes.
So the keyword mechanic here is cycling. So if you don't know what cycling is, it is an effect where you pay a cost. Sometimes they're free. Usually they cost 1 or 2 mana. And it says discard, draw a card. There have been lots of different variants of cycling over the years where you could like swamp cycle, you go to swamp and, all that kind of stuff. But that's a really powerful effect. It seems super innocuous, but there's a lot of stuff, particularly in this set, that's been built into it. So the example they've got here is a card called Draneth Stinger, which is 1 and a red for a 2/2, and it says, whenever you cycle another card, Draneth Stinger deals 1 damage to each opponent. So it's a common, it's not busted or anything, but and it has cycling 1 as well. So you'll see that there are cards that are really good that, have this cycling sort of tapped onto them. So another one that I like the look of is called Neutralize, which is 1 blue, instant counter target spell, but also has cycling 2. So if you're playing, blue-white control, and you hold up your mana to the end of turn, and you've got 2 of these in hand, then you can cycle 1 and get a card draw. So there's a lot of really flexible applications here because it lets you hit land drops early, or if you've got a million lands later and you've got you top deck some 1/1 that's not very good, then you can cycle it away and get some extra value. So really happy to see that one back again.
Yeah, same applies for really expensive stuff. It's actually, cycling's a really good mechanic for limited, because it means...
Love it in limited.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of cards with cycling, it might be like a 6 mana creature, and if you get stuck with cycling for 2 mana, so if you're playing limited, you can play those cards, and if you draw it early and go, well, I don't really actually need this, I would really prefer to just try and draw some land, well, then you just cycle it away early on, and then you draw another card and hopefully draw the land that you need. So it helps to smooth things out a fair bit, especially in limited. But if you draw that card later on, well, then you can actually play it, and it's a good card to have at the time. So it's almost like a modal card or a split card where there's 2 different things you can do with it that are good at different times of the game, depending on your circumstances. So it's always been pretty popular. I think the last time we saw it was Armenket Block had some cycling in there, and then before that it was pretty old school. So glad to see that one back. I know there's quite a few people that have been pushing for cycling to actually be an evergreen mechanic and have, that just about any card, like lands have cycling and things like that, which would make it quite interesting. But I don't think we're quite at that point yet. So
I'm glad it's not. I love the mechanic, but I don't know that I want it to be evergreen. I can see that in some, like, the arguments for it, but let it come and go every couple of years, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so for the health of standard. If too much cycling in standard would mean that everyone's effectively playing, 45 card decks and things get a lot more powerful. But that's a whole other topic.
Yep.
But I love it for the limited sets. But what else is in there? There's a couple of kind of big ticket, I guess, like cycling we've seen before. There's a couple of things we've not seen before in this set, right?
So keyword counters is literally what they've got here. So I've pulled up the mechanics thing. Shorty can probably throw that in the show notes if people want to read it. But basically, there are a whole bunch of both creatures, mutate things, we'll get to that in a second, and spells that will put counters on creatures you control. So they are all of the keywords that you can imagine. So as follows: Menace, First Strike, Hexproof, Lifelink, +1/+1 Reach, Flying, Trample, Vigilance, Death Touch, and another +1/+1. So there's like 10 different types of counters that you can put on your creatures.
Do you think we'll get them similar to Amonkhet, where we had the little pop-out cards in the boosters?
On the page they've got, yes.
Yeah, nice. Okay,
that works cards.
That's good.
So it's going to be interesting because you can stack them, right? So there will be a different effect that puts them on your creatures, and it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, given the world we're in at the moment, Arena will do a spectacular job of it, I have no doubt. It will just appear as a little thing on the card, and then when you hover over it, it'll tell you all the different abilities it's got. So that'll be really nice. Physically manipulating the things, I don't know. I'm interested. I saw Aaron Forsyth tweet that, all of the R&D and playtesting on this set was done in paper, and it worked great.
Yep.
But, I mean, he is also like one of the head R&D guys at Wizards, so I expect him to say things like that.
Yeah, I think it works great as long as people remember to bring these little cards and their tokens and counters and all that sort of stuff. But how many people have you guys seen at tournaments that you sit down opposite, you're playing them, and then they cast a spell that makes some tokens, and they go, oh, can I borrow your dice so I can use them as tokens?
Yeah,
this is just going to happen all the time with this sort of thing. And you can end up with a creature with a flying counter, a trample counter, a death touch counter, and you need to somehow differentiate between those three counters because there are effects in this set that remove counters. So you need to know specifically which ones have been removed. So it's going to be
dice
messy.
aren't going to cut it anymore, boys.
No.
I did see, I saw a fairly strongly worded tweet from a prominent podcaster saying that if you rock up with these effects to a constructed event and you don't have the things, you should be awarded a game loss. So
I saw that too. I thought that was pretty funny.
I've always been pretty careful whenever we're going to an event and I build my deck, once I've locked in finally at 2 a.m. 5 minutes to midnight.
3 minutes before we get there.
Once I figure out exactly what I'm going to play, I go through my deck and go, okay, what do I need for this deck? What tokens do I need? Do I need a bunch of dice? Do I need different coloured dice? Like Chewy playing KCI, you needed red and white and blue and green dice to track your different colour mana and things like that. So
even in the end, I got some RK Post little
they were pretty cool, actually.
Tile things too. Yep. They're pretty sweet.
But you go to the event prepared for what you need for your deck so that you're not that person that's asking for dice for tokens and things like that. So
it's actually part of the process for me. I really enjoy, I get my deck box and I put, make sure all my sleeves are, clean and unmarked. And then I've got a bunch of those dodgy Magic Beans sleeves that Chris got, and my tokens all go in those. And, I packed my bag the night before.
Come on, guys. This is 40 minutes in and we're tangenting so hard here. So the next keyword is mutate. I'm just cutting you off. I can't do it. I know. Sorry. So mutate is a brand new keyword and...
well done, Craig.
No, well done. No, this is why you're here.
This one I'm trying to wrap my head around because it's weird, right? So it's kind of like an aura, but it's not. So let me just read it to you really quickly. So the one they've got here is, as an example, is called Cloud Piercer. So it's 4 and a red for a 5/4 with reach. And then it also says, whenever this creature mutates, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Now, the other part of the rules text here says mutate 3 and a red. And it says, if you can't cast this card for its mutate cost, put it over or under a target non-human creature you own. That they mutate into the creature on top, plus all of the abilities from underneath it. So, to break that down, you've got it's weird, right? And they go into another example here. So they've got a vanilla 2/4, and then your option here with your Cloud Piercer is to mutate onto your 2/4. So what you can do is either put it on top, which means that it is a 2/4 with a reach ability, and you can also then, when you mutate it again, you can then discard a card and draw a card, or you can mutate it underneath the 2/4 and it becomes a 5/4. I don't know, man, this is confusing.
Yeah, it's other way around. It's the card that's on top that is the...
that has the power and toughness?
has the power and toughness and the name and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Creature type.
And the CMC.
And the card that's on the underneath is effectively like an enchantment that can't be removed. So you're adding the text boxes together, and the creature that's on top is the power and toughness that you're going by.
It feels like a mashup of the Bestow mechanic from the first Theros and what was the one from the Avacyn?
Soul Bond.
No, not Soul Bond. The one where you sacrifice the creature when you cast it a little bit, and then you got an effect.
Oh, Offering.
Yeah, whatever that was called.
You could play like Snake Offerings and stuff like that, where you could sacrifice a creature and then it would come back later if that creature died.
No. The one where
I know the one you're talking about.
The Eldrazi.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
Anyway,
it's irrelevant.
There was a dude who tapped your lands and stuff. Yeah,
you're doing it again. Yeah. Stop it. So I'm trying to understand this.
Welcome to the Magic Beans Tangent Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Chewy.
So the thing with mutate is it's interesting, right? Because you're casting it as a creature, but it's not actually entering as a creature spell. So it's a mutation, and it can only go on non-humans. So that's one of the sub-themes here we touched on briefly, is that there's a lot of human versus non-human things. So there'll be cards that are like target one or both, choose one or both, and it will be humans or non-humans. But basically, you can counter it as a creature spell, but it doesn't enter the battlefield as a creature, so it doesn't trigger enter the battlefield abilities. It triggers mutate abilities. You can do it onto tokens, so it doesn't have to be non-token creatures. So, look, there's a lot to it. I'd really suggest reading the rules. We were chatting about this before, and there are some that are very clearly good, but a lot of it is we don't know. And you can keep mutating onto the same creature, right? And you can keep triggering the same mutation. You can trigger, like 2 or 3 mutate abilities from casting one more spell on it. So it's strange.
Yeah.
But it looks fun.
It does. It's a little bit different to like playing Boggles, where you pile up enchantments on a creature, because they all become the one permanent effectively. So you can't remove the abilities and things like that. So that's kind of interesting. The other thing to note with it is, like, when you cast it as a mutation, if the creature that you're trying to mutate gets killed, the creature that you're casting as a mutation still enters the battlefield as a creature, just as itself.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Which is super powerful, because that's one of the biggest blowouts with
enchantments.
Auras.
Yeah.
Usually in limited and that sort of thing, where, it's a great 2-for-1 where you kill the creature from underneath and then the other spell is counted. Well, that doesn't happen. They just get
still comes in as the creature. So that's a little bit different, and that's kind of cool. But yeah, the ability to stack them all up and have multiple mutations that all have triggers when it mutates, and then you mutate it again, and all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 triggers, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. And like Craig said, we have no idea how powerful that's going to be. So
there are some that are clearly pushed, and we'll see play, and that's cool, right? Like,
that's what we want.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep. All right, and the last mechanic.
So we're not done yet. It is called Companion. And speaking of things that are hard to wrap your head around, here we go again.
Yep.
So
hang on, I thought you said Commander.
Yeah, basically. No. Yeah. So almost like that.
Does this replace the little pet that you get on the left-hand side in Arena?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to handle it. Anyway, Cracker, explain what it is.
Yeah. So a Companion is a card that starts in your sideboard, but you have access to immediately. And there are constraints with it. So the example they've got here is Karuga the Macro Sage, which is a weird...
dinosaur hippo.
It's a dinosaur hippo, is in fact what it is.
Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's kind of a hippo like Stegosaurus thing. Anyway, the companion text on this one says, your deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater and land cards.
Your starting deck, which is
your starting deck,
which is an important part.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't
include your sideboard. No.
Interesting. And then underneath it says so the second part of it is, when Karuga the Macro Sage enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with converted mana cost 3 or greater.
Wow, so, Living End is tier 1 again.
It's not. This card doesn't go in Living End. No. Don't put it in. Don't put it in Living End. It's a 5 mana 5/4 otherwise. So first of all, the thing that this tells you is it dies really hard to mono red because they don't play any spells until turn 3. No. But so it's going to be interesting, right? So you basically have an 8-card starting hand.
That's the big thing.
So it's already caused some. This is the most contentious of all the other things. Like, everyone's with the mutate thing. People are like, don't know. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. But with companion, well, some of it's already been banned. So let's talk about Lutri the Spellchaser. And sadly, the Elemental Otter has been banned from Commander already because it is 1 blue and a red or blue and a red. It says flash 3/2. When Lutri the Spellchaser enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, you may choose new targets for the copy. So, it's basically a dual caster mage that you just get to have sitting there ready to go. And yeah, like I said, already been banned in Commander because it's pretty nutty. Both Shorty and I saw it and we got all excited because we've got Izzet decks that sling spells, and then 5 seconds later we were a bit sad because you just can't. So it's going to be, look, broadly speaking, this is a really interesting take on effectively like a Commander style feature in competitive Magic formats, which we've never seen before.
But
so what do you guys think?
I guess the Vorthos sort of perspective of it is it's kind of like the familiar or the pet, right, of the planeswalker or the character in the story, right? So
exactly right.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different ones, and they all have different restrictions.
Can you have multiple? Like, could I have Lutri and Lurrus in my sideboards?
You can have multiples in your sideboard, but only one of them can be your companion. And so your deck has to comply with whatever the restriction is for it to count as your companion. So you can have any of these cards in your deck or in your sideboard, but they can only count as the companion if your deck meets that restriction. So the way it works when you're playing a tournament is at the start of the game, you would reveal, this is my companion card that's in my sideboard. It's taking up one of my 15 sideboard cards, which straight away is telling your opponent, okay, that's the sort of deck that they're playing. So there is a downside to it, because straight away, that if you've got this Karuga Hippo, straight away you're telling your opponent, okay, my entire deck contains only cards with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So if you are playing mono red,
that's going to inform their mulligan decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you're giving away information, but if it's powerful enough, then it might be worthwhile doing that. And like Cracker said, you're effectively starting the game with 8 cards in your hand rather than 7, which is a massive, massive difference. So it's going to be interesting.
Or particularly with the mulligan these days, right? With London Mulligan being, as powerful as it is, and like it's super powerful, and particularly when you get sort of into the older sets, it's going to be really strong, that you don't necessarily even go down a card, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can still start with 7 even after a mulligan, and you drop the worst one on the bottom. One of the ones that looks particularly pushed to me is called Lurrus of the Dream Den. Did either of you guys have that on your list?
No, but I did.
No.
Yeah, I did see that guy. He looks pretty sweet.
So Lurrus of the Dream Den is, and these are they're all legendary creatures, and they're all hybrid mana symbols. So that's another thing we should mention. Hybrid mana's back again. So Lurrus of the Dream Den is a colourless, or generic I should say, and then it's either a white and a black and a white and a black. So you can play double white, double black, or white and black for this card, with a colourless as well. And this one is a legendary creature, Cat Nightmare. It's a 3/2 with lifelink, and it says, during each of your turns, you may cast one permanent with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. And its companion restriction, I guess you'd call it, is each permanent card in your starting deck has a converted mana cost of 2 or less.
I'm seeing some really cool lists for Modern with this, with Tarmogoyf, Dark Confident, Croxar, and
Death Shadow.
Yeah. So it's
the important thing
sweet
to mention. Yeah, the really important thing here is to notice that it is only permanents. So it doesn't mean spells. So you can play like Colligan's Command and whatever it is that you want. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So no, not Lily. That she's a permanent.
Oh, permanent.
But all your instants and sorceries can be 3 CMC or more or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see what this does.
Yeah, I think that's the one that's going to sort of have an impact on older formats, I think. Although Lutri, the Spell Chaser, may have some impacts on older formats, that remains to be seen. But yeah, they're interesting. I don't know how they're going to go. They may kind of just be a casual player's extra, restriction breeds creativity. So people might want to put together a deck with those restrictions to have a bit of fun, or these things could be completely broken.
I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter recently with any like Magic people there, but everything is always broken and the sky is always falling.
yeah, absolutely.
So
standard Magic take.
It really is. It's like new sets. This card's broken. Why would you ever do this? You've ruined Magic forever. Terrible wizards. No, not at all.
Are they just not bots that trigger the same message every time a new set's released?
Probably. I reckon it's just copy pasta, right?
Yeah.
Copy pasta. There's some really powerful things in this set. They've really pushed in some really different directions again, and I'm down for it, right? Wizards have for the last, since Dominaria said, we're going to push and we're shooting for really high-powered sets now. And, I mean, this looks like it's going to deliver. And to keep up with both Throne and Theros, it was going to have to be, right? They were going to have to push. And I like the fact that they've done it in different ways rather than just pushing stats or dropping CMCs.
Yeah, it is good. So let's talk about some of the powerful cards that you've mentioned. I think we've each got a couple of things that have jumped off the page on Mythic Spoiler out at us.
Yeah, I think one of the first ones that I saw, and straight away we all agreed this was going to be a 4 of in decks pretty much right off the bat, is Crystalline Giant. So Crystalline Giant is a 3 mana, so 3 generic mana for a 3/3. So that's fine. That goes in pretty much any deck. It is an artifact creature giant, and it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, randomly choose a kind of counter at random. Yep. That Crystalline Giant doesn't have on it from among flying, first strike, death touch, hexproof, lifelink, menace, reach, trample, vigilance, and +1/+1. Put a counter of that kind on Crystalline Giant. So, right off the bat, if you cast this in your first main phase, you get the trigger straight away. You cast it on turn 3 or turn 2 if you've got some sort of acceleration, and straight away you get a trigger. So it's not just a generic 3/3 with no abilities. It's a 3/3 with one of those abilities for 3 mana. So that's any of those abilities are good. You tack any of those onto it, that 3/3, and that makes it good.
I notice haste isn't included.
Yeah, I don't think they put haste down as a counter because haste is only relevant for that one turn. So
yeah, okay.
You'd also notice there's no infect as a counter, which I'm quite thankful of. So your next turn, when you can actually attack with it at the beginning of combat, hey, it gets another counter that's different to what it already had. So within a couple of turns, you're going to end up with likely a 4/4 with flying and hexproof or something like that you paid 3 mana for. So I think this card's pretty good. I think you guys are all in agreement of that.
I think it's pretty great.
I'm glad that it's a rare and not a mythic for money-wise, although on Arena I'd probably prefer it was a mythic because I seem to have more of those than rare wild cards.
Yeah, same.
But it seems pretty solid.
So the thing that makes this kind of even more overpowered than it potentially should be is that if it doesn't already have that counter on it. So if you roll it and it's got a +1/+1 counter and you roll again for the next turn, then you just go, oh, well, it doesn't get another +1/+1 counter, so I get to go again, right?
Yeah, you just re-roll.
You just keep going.
It does mean everyone needs to make sure they have D10s with them. So
it does, but it also means there's no foul rate.
No. Yeah, it's not.
Which is just nuts.
Yeah.
You might get things that are not relevant, but you might get things that are completely...
almost all of those you're more than happy to have.
They're all relevant abilities.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's good. It's really, really
I mean,
good.
if you get flying and then you get death touch, you're happy with the flying, but flying with death touch, it's not as relevant. But
you might get trample and death touch.
Yeah.
Huh? More importantly, that is one of the ones that you can get as Mecha Godzilla. All right, I'm just throwing it out there. Giant Godzilla, guns all over him. Sweet.
Okay.
All right, that's my first one. Chewy, do you want to give us one of yours?
So my preview cards I want to talk about actually a bit of a bundle, a bit of a package deal, part of a cycle. A cycle that we first saw printed back in the Alara block. I don't know why I found that very difficult to say. But yeah, so we have the other 3 wedges that we were missing from the Alara block. So
weren't they shards?
They would have been shards because Shards of Alara was an actual set in that block. Yes. So thanks, Volthos, Joel.
You're welcome.
So Ruinous Ultimatum, Emergent Ultimatum, and Eerie Ultimatum complete the set. Anyone who was playing back then in the Alara block would be very familiar with Cruel Ultimatum. 5-color control deck, played that a lot. It was pretty great. Really big, splashy, powerful spells. And, they're kind of adding in into each new set now kind of big splashy commander cards, but some of them may, they might be, $1 rares, or they might be really good cards. So the Mardu Shard is Ruinous Ultimatum, and that is destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. So not target opponent, but opponents. So, keyworded to fit into Commander. Really powerful effect. The mana cost might be a little bit prohibitive, but something that I guess we'll need to see see how things shake out. Emergent Ultimatum is the Sultai one, and that is double black, triple green, and double blue. And it is search your library for up to 3 mono-coloured cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards, shuffle that card into your library, then you may cast the other cards without paying their mana costs, and then you exile Emergent Ultimatum. So it feels a little bit like a fixed Tooth and Nail, because, it sort of adds in a bit of a opponent's choice. But
it's always good when you have to make your opponent choose, because it leaves that opportunity for them to make the wrong choice, because they obviously don't know what else you've got in your hand and things like that.
Yeah, and
just three giant scary things that you've decided are going to crush them.
Yeah. And monocolour doesn't count colourless. That's correct. So you can't get
correct, and you can't get any hybrid mana symbols.
Yeah, you can't go and get So they've worded that fairly carefully, but you can get like Thassa and Agent of Treachery and something else. So that's pretty awesome. So that's a really exciting card to me. I think that one has the most potential to see play in Standard, given that there is a ramp deck that exists already in those colours. So I'm keen to see how that one shakes out. And the last one is Eerie Ultimatum, which is the Abzan. So double white, triple black, and double green. And return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. So
I think that one's the best one.
You would think that, but it does have potential, because this is a set that has cycling. So, and a set that we currently have in Standard has a lot of self-mill. So I think that this, and in these colours, obviously. So I think this has potential. There may be something there. It's a space that people will explore. I don't know if it's any good, but I can see people dumping a whole bunch of stuff into their graveyard and casting this to pull them out, and then dying horribly to Ashiok or a Quench. But it's
the important thing here is that it's permanence. So that's lands, that's planeswalkers, that's artifacts, enchantments, creatures. It's everything. So
that is true.
It's not just bring back 4 creatures, it's bring back one of anything in your graveyard. So if you mill really hard into this, and there's a lot of support in black-white in this set for graveyard recursion, I may have looked. Look, who knows? Like, it's 7 mana. The mana is terrible, as you said, but I think that one's really powerful. I think they're all really powerful.
It's going to be whether or not we can cast it.
Yeah,
that is the question.
We don't know what the land cycle is, if any, in this set. So I guess we'll have to wait and see for that. I'd really like to see the Pain lands come back, because I think we need to have them in Pioneer, but I don't know whether they'll be in this set or not.
Yeah, we might see more something. Likely we'll get those tri-lands that comes into play, tapped tri-lands.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah, well, they've always been quite good, Jungle Shrine, etc. So, happy to see those in Standard as well. So, so I'm really excited about those, because there's, a bit of nostalgia attached to these. I played a lot of Cruel Ultimatum in Standard back in the day, and there's a really famous sort of Pro Tour top 8 moment with Cruel Ultimatum. So, it kind of brings back those memories. So that's pretty cool. So,
Cracker, you want to take us through a few?
Yeah, so some of mine are not quite as flashy, but I think they'll see a bunch of play. So there was one that just came out, I think it was today, called Flame Spill, which is 2 and a red for an instant. It says Flame Spill deals 4 damage to target creature. Excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. So normally...
trample on a burn spell.
Trample on a burn spell. They did it. It used to be in it is in one of the silver bordered sets, one of the unsets. But you can't give trample to spells, apparently. But they found a way to do it. So I think this will be really really strong. Certainly really, really good in limited.
I'm going to go on record right now and say that I will definitely first pick this card.
Yeah, for sure. Whether the 3 mana makes it a little bit expensive for standard remains to be seen. But if you can, shock a creature and then have the other 2 damage go through and shock a player, it's pretty good for 3 mana. I mean, it does cost 1 more than just having 2 shocks, but it only takes up 1 slot. I don't know. Anyway, I think that'll see some play. One of the cards that I am quite interested about, particularly given the deck I'm playing in our league at the moment, is called Sea Dasher Octopus. I think Shorty's interested in this one too. It is
also got your son's name in its name.
It does.
You called your son Octopus?
Yeah, I called him C.
Careful.
My son's name is Dashiel, but we call him Dash. And he doesn't stop running ever. Unless
he's riding his bike. Yeah,
that is true. Anyway, this is an octopus. It's a 2/2 with flash, and it says whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It also has a mutate for 1 and a blue. And I played a lot of Curious Obsession when that was legal. I really, really enjoyed that. I mean, it's missing the +1/+1, but you can sort of, depending on the creature, maybe give it +2/+2 or +2 something.
Yeah, so if it's a 1/1 and you mutated it, you can turn it into a 2/2. So it's effectively the +1/+1 that you get from Curious Obsession.
Have you met my mate, the Spectral Sailor, who is in fact a pirate spirit? I'm pretty sure
not a human.
Not a human. So got some Flash boys all ready to suit up with this kind of thing.
So just to clarify, because this creature has Flash, you're casting it as a mutation with Flash, so you can do it like Ninja of the Deep House style.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sweet. That's really powerful.
There's also a 2-mana 2/2 that's a or spells with Flash cost 1 colorless less.
And can't be counted.
So that'll be really interesting to see whether that sees any play as well.
Well, there's a couple of other... there's a couple of sharks with Flash that are pretty good, actually.
I have one here because it's called Voracious Great Shark, and why wouldn't you? It's a 5-mana 5/4, so 3 and 2 blue with Flash, and it says when Voracious Great Shark enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell. So that is the biggest Mystic Snake I've ever seen in my life.
It reminds me of there was a Draining Whelp, which was a 6-mana one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that got +1/+1 counters, didn't it?
Yeah, equal to the CMC of the creature. But so that one might. Well, I don't know. That's a whole debate. Is it bigger or is it a 0/0? Ooh, is Arcane Ravager a 1/1 or
anyway? I mean, technically you could use it to counter an Ornithopter and then it would be a 0/0 that would die. But there's also another shark. I think it's another 5-mana. I think it's a 4/3 that is a Muldrifter. No, not Muldrifter. Man-of-War. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Don't get me excited, man. Don't get me excited.
It's a Pouncing Shore Shark.
There you go.
4 and a blue for a 4/3 with Flash. Whenever this creature mutates, you may return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand, and its mutate cost is 3 and a blue, so it's actually cheaper.
Some of my least favourite art out of this set. The Department of Memes.
It's a bit lame. It's like, rah.
So as far as greatest art in the set, Colossification, right? No, I'm kidding. I won't talk about this one. It's an aura that gives creatures 20/20. It's
Is that
a giant
the
cat.
one with the giant cat on it? Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's, yeah.
Apparently I'm not allowed to talk about that one anymore, so.
Oh, you can talk
Shorty,
about it.
what do you got? Nah, it's fine.
Isn't there some combo with this thing?
Tell us the combo.
Yeah, so somehow you have to get this thing into your graveyard. I don't know how you do that. And then you can play Storm Herald, which is a 3-mana 3/2 with haste, and when it attacks you can return any number of auras from the graveyard attached to a creature, and then you exile them at the end step. So you can kind of give your creature +20/+20 till end of turn.
So if you've got this and Setescent Training, it's a 24 whatever trampler, and you draw a card. Yeah.
Yes.
And you draw a card. Yeah.
Cool.
So Caleb Durwood actually plays a deck in Modern that's playing Eldrazi Conscription and the Storm Herald, and annihilating people, because that's fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Eldrazi's
Shorty, what do you
was a
got?
deck. Yeah.
Yeah, so a card actually, I think it got spoiled a little while ago, but I only remembered it today. It's actually got horrible art. I really don't like this art. I'd be interested to see foils. I think they might be all right, but Sprite Dragon. So it's a blue-red, so blue and a red 2 mana cost for a 1/1 fairy dragon that has flying and haste. And it has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite Dragon. So we've seen in the past the Prowess ability from, what was that from? It was Karn's block. We saw that that set in your Monastery Swift Spears, that sort of thing where you cast your non-creature spells and they get +1/+1 till the end of the turn. Well, this one's counters, so that's pretty good. I can definitely see me being.
Did you design this card, Shorty?
I didn't, but I think
it seems like you might have. It seems like it's right in your wheelhouse.
Shorty, seeing as you don't like the art, can I interest you in Dorat, the perfect pet?
Is that one of the alternate ones?
It's the Godzilla version, and that one's even worse.
It's even worse. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's got a weird looking monkey thing with fish wings. I don't know. Check them out.
Yeah, cool. So I reckon this is an uncommon, so I'm more than happy to just burn some wild cards on those. I've got millions of those, so I think I'll be crafting these pretty quickly and putting them in a Phoenix deck. Let's bust out the old Arclight Phoenixes again and see what we can do with this sort of thing, because that looks like a lot of fun. Cast it on turn 2 and then cast a few spells and you're attacking with a 3/3 or a 4/4 in the air or something like that. So yeah, could be pretty good.
Speaking of uncommons that you should craft right off the bat, Heartless Act is a card it's not exciting, it's not splashy, it doesn't really do anything particularly new, but I think it's a really important card for Standard. It is a 1 and a black for an instant, and it is destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from target creature. So it's a 2 mana removal spell that is, it's a Doomblade in so many cases, or better then, because it's doesn't have the non-black
condition.
The
restriction. Yep.
Yeah, and when we were talking about the giant with all of the ability counters and that as a mechanic, the ability to in combat remove a lifelink or a death touch or a first strike counter from something is quite powerful. And I think it's a card that's going to see play in pretty much any deck that has access to black mana. I think it's pretty great.
I think it's likely to actually see Eternal play this card, and it's pretty good against things like Hangerback Walkers and stuff like that. And any deck where you would have normally played a Doomblade, you're probably just better off playing this card. So
yeah. Well, I think it does have potential. That's great. Yeah, so that were really the ones I want to talk about. We could do a big deep dive, but I think we'd bore people. But
there'd be way too many tangents, so we might leave the previews there. If you want to go and check them out, we generally look at mythicspoiler.com, but there's heaps of different places you can look at them. And there's tons of cool cards. Let us know if you have anything particular that you are really liking the look of. We've had a fair bit of chat going in our Discord on our previews channel with as people have seen things that they like on there. So it's pretty cool. The set's interesting. We don't really know how powerful some of this stuff's going to be, but it looks pretty cool. And some of the art's cool. Some of it's weird. And some of the alternative art's pretty good. So the other thing that's been sort of confusing our Discord a few times is they're actually previewing Commander 2020 cards at the exact same time, which I don't really know why they've done it like that, but
it's because it's tied to the Ikoria set. So there's a lot of the same mechanics and stuff like that. But the way that they just went, hey, it's Commander Weekend, and then just kept on spoiling cards, confused everybody.
Yeah, well, there's been a ton of times where someone would post a card and you'd be like, oh, that looks really cool, we can do this and this with it. And then it's like, oh, hang on. No, that's the different set symbol, and that's a Commander card. That's not a standard card. So yeah, I don't really know, but there's a ton of cool cards in there. The full deck lists are actually out now, so I'll link those in the show notes so you can go and have a look. One thing we did want to mention is there's a cycle of free spells, and we've talked about it plenty of times on this podcast that free spells generally lead to trouble, as we've seen plenty of times with free spells over the years. And I've completely didn't get the card up. Can anyone remember the blue
It's a counterspell. It's negate with...
that's right. Yep.
Is basically what it is.
Yeah, but if you control a commander, it doesn't say your commander, it says a commander. So you can, treachery somebody else's, and then you can negate their spell without paying its mana cost, which is...
Yeah, so they are all Commander Matters cards. They all say that if you control a commander, then do X. But the one that people obviously most jazzed about is free negate.
Yeah, so it's called Fierce Guardianship. So it's 2 and a blue. So it's more expensive than negate, but 2 and a blue. If you control a commander, if you control a commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost, and it's negate, counter target non-creature spell. So yeah, pretty good to be able to. I know, like my commander deck, the blue-red deck that I play quite a lot of that everybody hates. There's so many times when I cast my commander and you're just kind of crossing your fingers and hoping it's going to get back to your turn, and then I can untap and kill everybody. And having a free counter spell that I can also pay mana for if I need to is probably pretty handy. But these are going to be pricey. So the blue one is already $30 US. So
I was going to say that'll go into my deck, but maybe not.
No, probably not likely. So there's a whole cycle of them, and they've all got that same condition. We're not going to go through all those, but if that's your jam, then go and check out the commander previews. Again, I'll link the deck lists in the show notes, and you can go and check them out on there. So I think that's going to do us for tonight. Like Chewy said, there's a million good cards we could talk about, but we're not going to, so we will wrap it up there, and we'll go through all our usual reminders. So we'd really like it if you came and joined us in our Discord. The link for our Discord is always kept on our show notes, and you can find it on our Twitter, Facebook, and all that sort of stuff. So definitely come and join us. The community is growing. We're getting new people pretty much every day, so it's slowly getting up there, and there's always a lot of Magic chat going on, talking about the latest previews, talking about our league, all that sort of stuff. So come and join us on there. It's a lot of fun. Say good day and let us know where you're from, that sort of thing. And once you get in there, that'll give you access to joining our leagues, which are always free. They will be free as I don't think we can actually charge for them anyway, but we'll continue running free ones for a long time. But they will always include prizes. So yeah, definitely come and join us for those. The prizes will be either physical cards, whether it's boosters or some sort of sealed product, or we'll be combining with mtgcardsales.com.au, who've graciously provided us with some vouchers, so we'll be giving some of those out as well. And as always, you can use our discount code on their website, which is BEANS15, to get a 15% discount. So mtgcardsales.com.au. Not that you've got many Magic paper tournaments to go and play in at the moment, but prices are actually coming down because of that. So it's probably a good idea and a good time to be picking up some cards that you think are going to be staples when paper tournaments kick back off. So go and check them out. There's our YouTube channel and Facebook. You can find us on there. Just search for Magic Beans or Magic Beans Podcast, and you'll find us on there. Our Twitch channel. So we're starting to stream a bit more, and we would love for you to come and follow us on there. We're trying to get our numbers up. So Chewy's streaming on there pretty regularly. I've been jumping on a little bit myself, and Stu as well. One day we'll manage to convince Cracker to get on the stream.
Mate, if my laptop wouldn't explode in the attempt, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yep. So, definitely keep an eye out for us on there. And then, as usual, we are fairly active on Twitter now. So come and find us on Twitter. We are at MagicBeansCast. You can send us an email. Nobody does that anymore, but magicbeanscast@gmail.com. If you would like to find me on Twitter, I am at Peace Inc. Chewy, you are?
At ChewyMTG.
And Cracker, you are?
At JoelHill_.
Very good. So, that'll do us for another cast. We thank you, as always, for listening, and have a good Easter. There's not much you can do. You can enjoy playing a lot of Magic, but have a good break.
What you can do is
anyway.
stay home and play Magic.
What a shame. But take care of yourself, as always, and thank you for listening. We will see you next time.